Pablo, how happy are you to be training outdoors?
Sunshine does wonders for the body, the mind, and I think we grew up playing on grass, and so I mean we're blessed to have a wonderful indoor facility, but the game of soccer I think needs to be played on grass, and the guys were excited to get back out there today.
What changes the mood more, getting outdoors under the blue sky and the green grass, or winning?
I think they both work off each other. I think in our case, winning was huge for the morale. I think coming outside just boosted that, but it was definitely a result that we needed for a lot of different reasons. But I think the most important one is the direction we want to move in.
What were the other reasons?
I think selfishly, as a coach, you want to validate your work, right? And you want to validate the way you want to play. You want to validate the grind every day that you do in training, preseason. So there's a lot of reasons why, and I think it all comes together. I think we've had a couple opportunities here at home where we didn't execute in the final third, and I think at the weekend the guys made plays, and Zach made a big play. The center backs had a couple of crucial blocks. Midfielders made some huge plays, and the guys up front really sealed the deal. So as far as the performance went, it was the most complete performance, and again, it validates all the work that we're doing.
Do you feel validated in the first half when you're creating chances and their keeper is making great saves, or does that just increase the angst and you were going to pull out your hair at halftime?
No, I think the energy was different in this game. I think we approached it the right way. I think the guys up front did a great job of making the play predictable, getting after the ball in certain moments. But I think when you're creating those opportunities, it instills a sense of belief in the group. And so my message to them at halftime, ironically, coincidentally, I don't know, mystically, was if we score one, we're going to score three. And that's going by the energy that we're playing with and the chances that we're creating. And if we can just keep that going, this team is looking for an excuse to blame altitude, to blame travel, to blame a lot of things. And so I was grateful for the mindset that the guys displayed in the second half.
3 different players scored their first goal of the season, and attackers get judged by stats, goals and assists. But you've been preaching attackers have got to lead the press. And it looked like there were some pretty soft giveaways. There were guys mishitting balls and popping them up against your pressure. Were you as happy about that as you were the goal?
Absolutely. And the message today in the video recap was that, and I said it before the game, is that defense wins championships. And it's not just the back 4 guys. If you defend well from the front, you're going to find yourselves in positions where you're not marked in transition. Right? And so if we have good defensive posture and the guys are up front, Rubio is going to be able to find the ball in transition. Sava is going to be able to find. Gomez is going to be able to find the ball in transition. And those are things that I've been preaching really harping on the last week, is we got to double down on the defending when you're not scoring goals, which is really strange. And most of our best opportunities came out of transition to attack.
Gomez is a younger player. He's in a different country, speaking a different language. He's playing for bigger money, and that could put more, self-induced pressure on a player. So how big are those 2 assists for him?
It's huge. I think he's, again, everything that we saw, before he got here, it was on full display at the weekend. I think all the acclimation phase will take some time, but when you see moments of brilliance that he had in the few games that he's played, with a bit more comfort, with a bit more experience, getting those teammates a little bit better, understanding the league, the travel. There's no doubt in my mind in the next year or 2 he'll be a top winger in this league.
Okay, we'll clip and save that. You've got Dallas now, and it's the only road game in a stretch of 4. There is a chance, as bad as things were, to really flip things on their head. Do you view this game as pivotal, or are you just 1 out of 34 guy?
No, I think it's an important game. I think it's a game where we can build momentum, and again, I think, a lot of people like to think of games in isolation. I do myself, but the human part of me understands that if I did well last game, it's going to carry that same type of confidence in the next game. And now you have to perform, and I have to do it again. And so you just keep on doing the little things, the fundamentals. And I said to the guys, if we play like we did at the weekend, home or away, you're in every single game. It doesn't guarantee you that you win the games, but you're in every single game, where I felt like in the previous 2 games we didn't really have a chance. And so I feel good about the week of work that we have planned. I feel good about today's session, and really feel really good about the mindset and the mentality of the group heading into this Dallas game.
Dallas is off to a nice start this season. What have you seen from them? What are they doing well?
Well, I think last game they played with 2 very good strikers in Jimenez and Ferreira as a 10 and a 9, and they combined really well. And what they really did extremely well is what we did at the weekend was they were dangerous in transition for 90 minutes. And so they found gaps where they allow Velasco, Jimenez, Ferreira, and Areola, who are very nifty, speedy players that are dynamic, great combination players, but they thrive when there's space. So we got to do a good job of making sure our shape behind the ball's excellent against a team that is trying to do to us what we're trying to do to them.
You talk about managing moments. I forgot to ask you about one moment. When you talk about managing moments, how big was Zach's save?
It was huge. It was 1-0 at that point. And I keep saying it, it's so cliche and redundant, but you got to make plays in the boxes, in our box, in our opponent's box. And that was the play that Zach had demonstrated time and again last year in the early part of the season when we went on a good run. And so to see him in that form, in that moment, where he captured it, kept us in the game, and allowed the attackers to build their way into the game was pivotal and probably the most important moment of the game.
You mentioned a little bit already about Gomez, and I think his performance really stood out to me on Saturday. In particular, the assist to Severino. I was really impressed with how those two so quickly have kind of learned to work together. It seemed like they just knew exactly where each other were going to be and what the next pass was going to be.
Yeah, no, I think Andres, for as much as he's a speedy player and can whip balls in, his combination play is really good, and his ability to finish is really good. The one that hit off the crossbar didn't have a lot of time and space, but was really composed in that moment. So I think his connection with his players, with his teammates, will continue to grow as time goes. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good performance, and had some clutch assists that we sorely needed.
And then just talking about the midfield a little bit real quick. Obviously, Ruiz had the goal, and then you elected to start Jasper in the midfield. What are you kind of looking at between Jasper and Brian Ojeda as far as who gets the advantage at the weekend?
Well, again, I think for me, Jasper does a lot of the dogged work in there. He plays more like an 8 on offense, but he's also more like a 6 on defense. And his ability to win balls, again, and too often, we feel like the defenders have to win balls, but anytime your midfielders are involved in breaking up plays, you're winning the ball higher up the field, and then you get your front 4 involved a lot quicker. And Jasper did a really good job in that game of breaking up plays and really triggering counters. And so I think the other part too is, I think Brian's going through just a patch where, his decisions on the ball aren't clean enough at the moment. And if you're not winning balls and your decisions aren't clean enough, then you kind of leave the door open for other guys to sneak in there. So it's going to be a competitive midfield all year long, and that's what we want, right? We want guys to compete for their positions, and I think that midfield has a lot of good players, including Scott, and then you throw Mecca in there, who's been training there, and you got a really good midfield to choose from.
And then I think a few of those younger players got the chance to then travel with the Monarchs on Sunday, the day after the first team game. What's that like, I guess, to kind of have that option to get them playing minutes, even if it's not with the first team? I guess?
It's huge, because a lot of what we're trying to do is give these young players an opportunity to develop, and the only way to really do that is playing games. And so to have the Monarchs available and Alave being so receptive to maybe not even having the guys train with them, but then having them playing the games. I think it does great for our players to get the minutes, but it also does great for the younger players of the Monarchs to see what it takes to play at the first team level. So it's a real nice symbiotic relationship, and really important for the younger players.
Pablo, am I right in rewatching the game and thinking about winning balls higher up the field? I guess, can you explain the role that Rubio Rubin played? Because he was kind of to me, an unsung hero, because he didn't get the goal that Rubio got. He didn't get some of the other score sheet type stuff, but I felt like him dropping back deeper to win balls or to occupy and pull apart, the defense just created space for everybody else.
Yeah, no, I think Rubio had a really good game, and obviously it doesn't show up on the score sheet like you said, but his positioning defensively and his discipline defensively is something that we've talked about for quite some time. And to see, those two play together for the first time and the understanding of who's going to deal with the 6 and who's going to press out to the center back, and it was interchangeable. The deal is we want to cut off the central channel, and then we want to force it to one side, but we also want to press out of that position. And I think Rubio not only forced a lot of bad decisions on our opponents, but he was also in great positions to then receive the ball quickly in transition, set it, and then head to goal.
Did Charlotte defend you guys a little differently? Was there a little more emphasis on them getting out wide and putting pressure out there, and did that open up the middle of the park, or was the middle of the park open because there were so many transition moments and they were just scrambling and not as organized as they preferred?
No, I think if you look at our team and you do a scout on our team, you want to do a good job defending the wide areas. We cross the ball a lot, but in doing so, then you open up the middle. And what I liked about our transition, especially from our midfielders, was our ability to drive and really chew up the space and ask a lot of questions of their back line. Oftentimes in the previous games, we'd win the ball and Pablo would sit on it and try to find a wonder pass, where in this game, he was really driving with the ball, engaging defenders, creating 2v1s just by him driving with the ball. So I think that was an important feature of our game. And again, against a team like Dallas, we need to really take advantage of those opportunities. The other part that I enjoyed was it wasn't one-dimensional. We didn't just try to build through the lines the whole game. We went long a couple of times, a couple of warning shots that backed them off, and then there was a couple of plays where Marcelo and Pablo had a 2v1 against Capetti, where we were able to then gain the space. And so I think varying up the way we attack and the way we build, whether it's more direct or through the lines, really makes it difficult for our opponents to think about this is how we want to do it, because what we keep talking about is we got to be multidimensional in the way we do things. And if they want to press high, a couple of warning shots, you eliminate 5 players. And I showed them the clip. And then we pick up second balls. And so now it's our pivots and our front 4 against 5 of their players. And we just did it by going long. And so, and then obviously teams that sit back and drop off, you're going to have to break lines. And I think we have the players to be able to do that as well. So there's some interesting developments from this game that I hope we can continue improving as we move forward.
Last question, sorry. Can you contrast how you watch the game, like in the moment, where like we created a shit ton of chances, then they get one against the run of play, right? And then first 10 minutes of that second half, 15 minutes, like it was almost comical. The number of people and the types of chances that just didn't go in, that we were creating just one after the other. And then finally, like the dam breaks, like you say, you get 1, you get 3 or 7 or whatever. But then you go back and rewatch the game and like there's no emotion, I guess, right?
Uh-huh.
The resolution. So what did you see in, like, I guess just the chance creation? Because it seemed like it was exponential compared to all the previous games, right?
Yeah. Again, I think we as coaches try to instill belief, but belief is really an energy that's felt on the field. And again, I go back to the amount of balls that we won, second balls we won, the amount of times we forced it long and won the ball and then played forward. And if you do that enough, momentum changes. And in that spell, because the game will give you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, if you're lucky, especially in one full segment. And if you can capitalize in that moment, you have them right where you want them psychologically, which is defeated, which is this going to go on for the whole half? And our ability to really put the second one right behind the first one was an important moment in that game as well.
Arsenal had 10 shutouts last year. You haven't had one yet. No clean sheets yet. How much do you talk to the guys about that? How much will it just happen if they keep doing the right thing so you don't bring it up?
Yeah, it's funny. As coaches, you try to work on certain things, and sometimes the more you point things out, the more adverse effect it has on the group. I think for us is, again, it's just, I think this was a good starting point with the guys up front doing a remarkable job. And I think on the goal that we conceded, there's so many things that we could have done differently to negate that. But then there's other plays where we did great. So I think for us is continuing to just harp on the principles that we talk about defensively, being hard to play against, and then obviously always thinking about what we're going to do when we win the ball.
Well, you gave your 3-goal speech at halftime. I don't know if you try to speak it into existence.
Always, always. I got to believe it before they do. You know, if I don't believe it, they're definitely not going to believe it. And again, I think like any other game, you need fortune. And how do you create your own fortune? Well, you go out there and you double down on the work that you're doing. We haven't had many breaks to start the season. I think we got a couple in this last game, and those breaks eventually become a belief system. Like you're anticipating those things happening for you, and when you have that belief system, you stay in the games longer, you defend better because you know it's coming, and that's what I hope to see in the next game.
That's why you score on the last possession of the season in Kansas City to go to the playoffs.
That's right. All right. If you don't believe it, it ain't gonna happen.
All right, thanks, Pablo.
All right, team.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you.